Hello, friends and listeners from all across the globe. Thank you so much for tuning back into another episode of The Yogi Show. Here we are on episode number 9, my friends. It seems like time is flying by. We just keep pumping out episodes and recording with amazing guests. Today's episode of The Yogi Show is no different, except that it is with a new guest, Jade Alectra. This conversation had me feeling so good, connecting on all aspects of why Brian and I actually started The Yogi Show, hitting on mindfulness, yoga, gratitude, and many, many splashes of humor. Jade is an Orange County-based yoga instructor. She's an international retreat leader, a badass human, and an inspiration to so many on Instagram and beyond. She shows up for everything in her life with her heart in her hand, ready to pour it out and go all in. There's literally no holding back with this woman. When we initially got on the call, she says, "Am I supposed to hold back or can I just let it all out?" And we were like, "Jade, give us everything you got. Lay it out there," and she did. In this conversation, Jade gives us powerful insight on the stories and wisdom she shares on her Instagram page and how she has evolved from a student to a yoga teacher and beyond. She nearly gets Brian and I to cry with her powerful talks on eye gazing and the death meditation that she leads, which, by the way, had a story feature in Oprah magazine. This episode is a bit longer than the past ones. There are many, many jewels and golden nuggets sprinkled throughout, especially at the end. So grab an extra large bag of popcorn for this one and enjoy, my friends. Namaste. All right, thank you so much. Here we are with Jade Alectra. It is happening. What up, Jade?
Hi, all the way from California.
From Cali. What up, Brian?
What up, what up, what up, Jay? What up, Pedro? How's everyone doing?
We're chilling, man. I'm doing good. I'm on the East Coast. I'm not in Cali. It's late.
Yeah, it's like 11 p.m.
Yeah, no, I think it's like 9. It's like 9 something, but it's late. So it's all good though. I'm moving and grooving. I've been up since 5 my time. Just I work out, run this, that, do the whole thing, and like here we are, boom, killing it. So loving life. Jade, thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show. We are so grateful.
Thank you. I mean, this is seriously an honor to the guy who signs every single sentence with AF at the end. Like I had to know if you said that in person. Like there's so many questions I have, so I'm very excited and honored.
Brian, we're gonna get the tables turned on us by Jade Alectra.
Right?
She's about to flip the script.
Oh, yeah.
Everything we had planned just got fucked up.
I'm
right?
actually here to interview both of you, so we'll start with what's your deepest childhood wound? I'm just kidding.
Oh, jeez.
I'm kidding. Sort of. No. Okay. That's what I just do on dates, not here. Okay,
What's
I'll
your
go
deepest
back to chill
childhood
mode.
wound? No, I've actually been meditating, like going deep down the rabbit hole and like going back to like, because I've been messing with brain waves, like, theta, alpha, and from age 2 to 6, that's where your theta is at. That's where like you basically all those habits. So I have been like going back in my like earliest memory just recently and just seeing like what's there. So kind of crazy you brought that up.
Oh shit, look at him just stepping right through the door. Just say.
Where's my tissues at?
I know.
About
I'm
to
not
get
ready.
deep here.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, get the tissues ready, my friend. This is going to be a super fun episode. You have Jade following you on Instagram for 4 years. So I started my account like 4 years ago. So I think I was pretty much following you since like right when I started going on the gram.
Damn.
And like watching you transform and grow and share these deep messages is so powerful, and you're like just putting yourself out there, opening up is truly amazing. And I can't imagine like actually meeting you and experiencing one of your classes. Like, is everybody crying every time? Like, it's a serious question.
It's very accurate. There is actually 2 nights ago on Monday, I teach at a gym called Equinox, and there was a man there that I won't say too much, but can't give it away. But he was bawling, like covering his mouth, like trembling. A grown man, like 45 years old. But when I get that person to cry, I call it good. I'm like, okay, I've done my work for today. But it's a lot of the times they are crying because I just don't know how to teach a class that's just about the poses, right? So there's a long time ago when I first started teaching that almost every person in class would be sobbing, like crying, aching. And then all of a sudden one day it's kind of stopped. And I got really like ooh, shoot, maybe I'm sucking now, or what is it? So I went to ask my friend Drake. I know, right? They need to cry. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And I said, Drake, like, everyone stopped crying. Like, what is it? What am I doing wrong? He's like, one, the obvious. It's not always something we need to cry about. Like, sometimes you out-cry yourself and you're finished and you move on and you heal that aspect. I'm like, oh yeah, good point. And then the other side of it is he's like, don't you dare step into a room and ask something of everyone else that you're not first doing. And so I realized, like, I hadn't really, like, upped my ante. I hadn't stepped in the room and, like, ripped myself open and hung myself up so I could be like, you can do this too. So yeah, a lot of people do cry, and that's kind of not my goal, but I just want to open the door to every emotion. I want you to feel like a lot of things I've been working with lately is having everyone imagine this giant white wall, and that I've given you just tubes upon tubes of color. Like, how would you paint if you were to paint? Would you just, like, if you could do anything, would you just take a little bit of the paint? Would you just use one or two colors? Like, no, ideally, hopefully, we're just going to, like, get messy with it, throw the paint on, squeeze it, use it all up. But genuinely, a lot of people use so minute, like, amounts of themselves and of their array of emotions. And I just want everyone to be more passionate. So above and beyond crying, I just want everyone to feel themselves more.
Gosh, yeah, that is.
Go ahead, Brian.
I mean, especially with social media and just, like, not really putting, like I'd say the majority of people don't put their true selves on social media. It's just like what they want people to see. And especially, like, just not even on social media, when you're talking to someone, you're just showing them what you want that person to see. Mm-hmm. So, like, we all have, like, shit deep inside of us that we just don't want other people to see, but we're not, like, just as humans, we're not really unique. Like, we all have that shit going on. Mm-hmm. We all have stuff to work on, you know?
Exactly. I mean, but the only thing is I don't really relate to that in the sense that obviously I have stuff shit to work on, but I genuinely haven't, I don't think there's even one thing that I haven't put on Instagram. Like, it took me a long time to realize, like, the highlight reel was so foreign to me because I just genuinely thought that everyone was putting out who they were. And that's kind of the nature of how I am, is like, oh, I'm just very trusting. And I just didn't understand why you would create something for no purpose. Like, you're just trying to create an image. It was foreign to me. So I know that a lot of people do that, but it genuinely didn't cross my mind for a long time because I was like, I don't want to waste a single post on my page that isn't giving something or showing something or leading breadcrumbs to some aspect of yourself that might, show you something or take you somewhere.
Yeah, like, and showing your authentic self. And like I was saying in the beginning, like, every post that I've ever seen from your Instagram, like, it is, like, meaningful and purposeful, and there's value to it for someone to read. There's value behind all of it. It's not just like, hey, look at me, I'm doing a handstand on the cliff. If I fall, I might die, but hey, look at me, I'm doing the handstand on the cliff.
Thank you. I actually wrote this the other day when I was walking into class, and it was just, everywhere else in your life you hold up a mask, you play a part or handle a role. And here you break, you climb, you crawl, you breathe. And I just wanted that. I wanted that class to have that essence of, man, don't spin all the plates in your life in here. Like, you can do that in your work, you can do that in your relationship, you can do that wherever else you want to, hold up a sign and be like, oh, I'm this. But in here, I want you to just, like, set everything down, get quiet, and find out what gets loud when you're silent.
So on point. Pedro, when Pedro let me know you're going to come on the show, I went and took a look at your Instagram, and I read, like, 3 posts, and I was like, oh shit. Like,
3 novels.
I need to, like, I need to, like, map my head down. Like, I was just getting sweaty, and it was like, I think it was the eulogy, like, writing your own eulogy.
Yeah.
Like, that got me deep down.
I appreciate
the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, you'd need a couple years to get through. I have, like, books and books and books on my Instagram, but the eulogy was something that happened to me in college, and we had to write in a speech class a eulogy for ourselves. And it's weird, just some days I can think of probably almost all the posts that have happened this way, where I just feel all of a sudden this welling up of, like, I need to write, but I don't know what's coming. I just need to get into that text box. And that was one of those where I was like, I just want people to be able to feel a download in their body, because genuinely the biggest practice, the most potent practice that I've ever seen is the death meditation, or any time that someone comes into or experiences a death within themselves, within their family, like the loss of a relationship, any kind of death is just an invitation to experience your life more, to live more, to be inspired, to be here louder. So that those posts are closest to my heart, I would say. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, it's like one of the things in this country, like from my experience, and it's like we hide that. Really, like we hide, a lot of the times we hide suffering, we hide death. And then when it happens, we're just like, holy crap, like we could actually die. Like, I'm not living forever.
Yeah.
You know?
I went to a funeral. I think it was the last funeral I went to, and it was in this beautiful church. And I walked in, and it was like one of my best friends since I was a child. It was her uncle, who I knew and was really close to. And I was very emotional, but I walked in and I could feel the entire room holding their breath. And then
oh man, that's the worst.
Right? And I was just like, this is the one place where if I could like pump air into everyone's lungs, it would be here, because this is the moment where you don't hold, like I could just feel everyone shoving it down. And I'm like, this person died and you loved him and he was magical. Like, can we not be more passionate? And then it was just really too much for me when the priest said his name wrong the whole time, and just was like stuttering stuttering about everything. And everyone had these big black glasses on, like, you know, those ones that you wear when you're like 95.
The funeral.
Blue blockers.
The blue blockers.
yeah, exactly. And I was just like, why is everyone, and as soon as a tear would like drip out just even like a millimeter from those glasses, they would wipe it away like they were so embarrassed. I'm like, no, you let the tears roll down your face. Don't even wipe them when they hit your chin. Let them fall on your chest. Like, let there be a sign of life. And I actually really want to lead funerals now, because I want to lead a breath work, a breath meditation. Like, I want this to be almost like the essence of a wedding, where you feel like so much hope and so much passion and so much story. So that was like just one of those events where I just kind of like, wow, there's an opportunity here to expand instead of contract in a really hard time.
Yeah, and when times get super hard like that, when people container stuff, like they need somebody to hold space for them to let it out.
Exactly.
You know, to be able, and that's how people find yoga. You know, that's why people find, you know, healing in these different modalities, like whatever it is, you know. And like, I don't know, if you become like a funeral director, like you'd probably be really good at it, you know, holding space for people's families and stuff. So
does that sound weird?
You know, but I mean, it sounds a little bit weird, but so does a death meditation.
Right.
So what do I know? You know what I'm saying?
What the hell do I know?
Yeah, what do I know? But I want to get to that death meditation in a bit. But you know, like getting to these things and doing these experiences and you know, growing as a human, you know, over the past, how long have you been teaching for? How many years?
Gosh, since I was 26, I think. So I'm 31 now, so 5 years.
Okay, so 5 years now?
Yeah.
Okay. So since the inception of you teaching, right? And like, you know, like I'm sure, obviously, like so much has changed and transformed in those 5 years, because you not only have you grown as a human and as a person on the mat, but it's happened off the mat. I remember seeing, literally just thought of this. Yes. I literally remember seeing this in my head right now. There was an Instagram video. It was like a before and after, and it was you doing Scorpion against the mirror in like let's call it 2014, you know, and then you doing it now in 2019, you know, and just seeing the evolution of your practice, you know, and your commitment to health and well-being, you know, but that also translates into the transformation within you as a spirit, as a being, and peeling back the layers of the onion and going deeper and deeper and deeper, you know, and sharing all these vulnerable stories and all of these, you know, pouring your heart out. You know, it's so incredible, like watching you grow and inspiring so many people. So like, what is it like now? Like the Jade that I know now, like in the last 10 minutes, and the Jade that started teaching yoga. Can you? Because a lot of the listeners are newer teachers, right? So they're newer or aspiring teachers. So like, can you give a little bit of tidbit advice, like when you first start, owning your shit, and then like growing, going through what you're going through? Can you kind of explain that journey to kind of like what got you to where you are now?
Well,
kind of thing?
yeah, of course. This is one of my favorite things to talk about.
Great.
Let me start with the most epic yoga class that I taught for the first time ever. It went exactly as you thought it would, right? It was magical. It was euphoric. I was perfect. I planned everything out and it went according to plan. Not at all. It was fucking terrible. I used to be an undercover security guard. I did that for 9 years. I loved it. It was
what?
Yeah, super savage. I was an angry human being.
Did you have a segue?
I know. I took a left turn. But I was doing that, and this really gnarly night happened where someone came in and stole $200,000 at night. And then long story short, they came in 2 nights later, and I intuitively felt like, I think they're going to come back. And everyone's like, you're crazy. They came back, and I happened to be working, and they ended up pinning on me, whatever else. Anyways, I got they tried to make me quit, and they tried to make me, segue. And I had just got my teacher training. And I did not want to be a teacher. I didn't do that well in my 200-hour because I did yoga for a month and then I signed up for my 200-hour. So
fast starter.
Yeah, I was actually doing it to just save my life. So I was just like, I need to show up to something. Yeah. I ended up hearing it. So I didn't do it to teach, and I never wanted to teach at all. So fast forward, they're like trying to make me quit. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to, I was battling with them. It was ugly. And I was like, I'm just going to leave this be and take it as a sign. I laid in my bed for 2 weeks straight. I was so depressed. And then some guy had hit me up that I worked at a gym since I was 18. It's my first job. And some guy had met me there, and he knew that I did yoga. And he was like, listen, I have this beautiful class on the edge of this cliff in Pelican Hill. It's like the nicest resort in California, one of them in Orange County. And he's like, I need someone on the day after Christmas to come teach this, or no, it was Christmas Day, at 11. He's like, I need someone to come teach this Christmas yoga class. And I was like, absolutely not. But he kept hassling me because he couldn't find anyone else to do it. So I was finally like, you know what? Who am I if I don't face my fears? And so.
Because you were scared to get up there and teach?
I just didn't want to. And I was terrified, but I was like, how hard could it be? So I wrote my sequence out and I brought my little piece of paper. But all of Christmas morning, when I was going to get all of the opening presents to my family and everything, I legitimately was shaking. I felt sick. I was white as a ghost. I thought about all the ways I could call out sick and whatever else, but I showed up.
Oh yeah.
I showed up. There wasn't enough mats. I had to run, all the things that could have gone wrong went wrong. I was saying pose. I was saying donkey kick, donkey pose, Billy Goat Mountain. It was the weirdest thing. And I fantasized the entire time about jumping off a cliff because it's on the ocean. And I was like, if I just jump off, they can't find me because I'll be my body will be on the rocks and I'll be done. I was so terrified. And it was a really, really bad way to launch my career. But I didn't think I was doing that. I thought I was just, helping a friend out. So I made it through that class like nails on a chalkboard. So what I have to say for you comes from the nitty gritty, meaning it wasn't this is something that came easy to me. And it's not something that comes easy to most people. I would say no one just, it's a learning process. No one's born with information of how to do yoga. It's a practice. Mm-hmm. It's a practice to teach. It's a practice to be a student. And so what you need to bring, or what I ask of any teacher that I take, I don't need someone that's just shooting fireworks out of their butt. I want someone that's just sitting there with their heart in their hands, allowing me to feel, allowing me to express. And so I think just allowing yourself to mess up. I had this teacher back when I was a student, and she always forgot one whole side. A whole side, she just skipped to the next side. And as a student,
nope.
I know, right? I was so pissed, and I judged her. I was like, damn, and then she would stop and be like, oh, wait, what did we do? And I was like, dude, I'm not trying to think right now. That's your job. I'm trying to relax. So I was so frustrated. And she ended up, then I became a teacher. But every time she would forget a side, she'd be like, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so stupid. She would talk down to herself. And then it made it a bigger deal. So that's one of the things too, is if you mess up, you are actually in a really beautiful teaching moment where you can teach people that it's not a big deal. like, oh, you messed up, you forgot, make a joke, laugh it off, and keep going.
Yes.
And so the grace that you just demonstrate as a teacher will bleed into your students, and they'll get the permission to have grace in their practice. So we take ourselves far too seriously, I think, as teachers sometimes, and we like grip on, and if we try and like also just get into the minds of everyone, be like, what do you guys want? Most of the time, people don't even know what they need. So they'll come in with this other list of, oh, I need this, I need that, but they don't really need 10, 100 handstands. They need to lie the fuck down and breathe. So, having that discernment, is that, I mean, I could go on forever. There's so many things, but kind of my like main thing.
This is
that's
delish
great.
Right,
this is
delish.
Thank you.
So good.
And it's so true with messing up in class. Like, you're gonna mess up. As a yoga teacher out there listening, you're gonna mess up. Like 100%.
No doubt.
And it's like,
I can't teach reverse triangle without demonstrating it. I can't. It's been 7 years. It's been 7 years. It's been 7 years and I still can't fucking do it. So whatever.
I just forgot what reverse triangle was. So
what the fuck?
Because I actually don't use pose names. I kind of just describe the movement. I feel like
I like that.
Okay.
Actually, there's no excuse. I shouldn't. Actually, I haven't taught reverse triangle in like years, so I'm gonna put that back in my repertoire.
There we go. There's the invitation, man.
Right?
There's
Love
the invitation.
Well, yeah, it's so true when the teacher like gets hard on themselves about messing up. It like makes that mistake even more noticeable. Like like me as a student, when I'm taking class, like sometimes I don't even know the teacher messed up until they say they messed up, and I'm like, oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, and life is messy like that, right? Now I'm thinking about it. Now we're in this moment together when it's just like, man, I think we put so much pressure of perfection on us as teachers, but do you want to put that on your students? I hope not. God, I hope not. I hope that you're creating a space where, like, I always talk about how I don't give a shit what the shape looks like. It's what are you filling it with? What energy are you bringing? What are you allowing to move through your body? So if you have that, it's almost like how we are in our lives. Like, a lot of people compare themselves so intensely, but they're so much nicer and loving to their friends or, celebrities or whoever else. So it's like, treat yourself the way you want your students to feel.
Yes.
And I feel like that will be the bridge of the gap.
It's
bridge
so
the gap.
True. So true. I heard this saying. Yeah, I heard this saying that treat yourself like your number one customer. Like, you would treat your number one customer like, so, hey, you want these cookies, you want some coffee, like you want this and you want this. But it's like, ourselves, we like, so hard on ourselves. It's like, come on, like we got to be like the number one customer.
Exactly. 100%. I never heard that put that way.
That's a great way to put it, Brian. And I think that so many of us, just like you said, like we don't treat ourselves like the number one customer. Not even close.
Yes.
Like maybe the last on the list.
If even.
Like last. Like literally, yeah, seriously. I mean, it's no good, and it doesn't work. Like, that's not sustainable for like good, long lasting, like mental health, physical health, nothing, like putting yourself as priority one. Like so an example of like putting yourself as like the number one customer is like, I know in my personal life, if I want to take care of my family, I need to take care of myself. And the time for Pedro Luna to take care of himself is between the hours of 5 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. So it's either I can sleep, and then I'm not going to be good for my family and like be able to do the things that I like to do with good energy, positivity, and a sound mind and a sound body, or like I can just like wake up and then go do my thing, and then like I'm set for the day. And it's like there's two pills. There's the red pill or the blue pill. Like, take the red pill, man. Go. Get out of here. Get out of this bed.
Every time. And actually, that's one of those things that I love that you understand that too as a father. Or do you have kids?
3.
What? But you're like
Lit
11
AF.
Years old. Did you start when you were in the womb? How did that even happen?
I'm 33 and we got 3. It's crazy.
That's still
time.
even more crazy than I was thinking. Okay. I'm
Crazy
31.
time.
I don't think I could take care of a gerbil, but that's neither here nor there. My whole point is there's this thing I always say in a lot of classes that I teach that when I really want to hit them where it hurts, that says, if I ask them in some pose or in the beginning of class, I'm like, hey, list all the people that you love. Like, think of everyone in your life. Like right now, if you're listening to this, wherever you are, in your car, you're driving, or whatever you're doing, just think of everyone that you love. And if there's an X on there, or there's like a weird person on there, don't judge it. Just let it, like, the faces or the names flow through. And so you're making this list. And then halfway through, like usually around pigeon, if you catch my drift, in the hippie postures.
Yep. Oh yeah, we got you.
Right. I'll ask them like, and if I asked you to name everyone that you love, how long would it take for you to name yourself? And it still gets me every time because I'm not even on the list most of the time, like not even at the bottom. And most people are like, oh shit, like mic drop in their body. Like this is not a joke anymore. Like we have to be so passionate about self-love as much as we are about love that we're trying to find and love that we're trying to hold on to, because the two are going to mirror, right? So anyways, that's my little soapbox.
No.
Yeah, it's like, what, are you on the list? And then you're like, you need to check the junk mail. And then my name's there.
I don't even know if I'm in the junk mail, to be honest. It's hard. Like that. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, there I am, right there. Number one on the junk mail.
Over and over again. It's fine. Deny.
Let me move this into the right folder here.
Oh, that's such a sweet, sad thing.
It's so true. Like putting yourself on the, I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't know that I would, if I was in your class, I would be the mic drop into myself. I wouldn't have named myself on the list.
I think
it wouldn't even cross my mind. It wouldn't have. I'm being honest.
But that's not usually not usually. That's typically not any of our faults because we weren't taught, and it's not our parents' faults because they weren't taught, and it just goes down and down the lineage. But what's badass is that our generation, meaning whoever's alive right now, has the opportunity and the chance to turn that around and to completely say enough is enough of carrying the trauma, of carrying the stories, of carrying this like, how do you, like, I don't know, this pressure on our backs. Like it ends with me. And so then I love watching my friends raise children now because they're so young, but they're also just so vibrant, and they allow these children to just be wild and children and curious and fun, and just like you see a different pristineness about them, and that's really cool to see.
Yep. Yeah. I feel that with my kids, like allowing them the space to be creative and allow them to do things like that, like weren't like in 15, 20 years ago in a different generation, like kids weren't doing that, It's like, well, my kid's doing that. Like my kid's going on a yoga retreat to Costa Rica. She's so she's going, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, like things like that, So like nobody was doing that like 10 years ago. Like I think 10 years ago, nobody was doing that. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Just like really, just like cool thing, that's just like one example of like, like the consciousness of, I think the generation that's having children. Brian has a kid too. Brian has an 8-year-old as well. So, having kids and like raising them in these new ways with the mindset of like, I'm 33 and I'm woke and I understand that I am not my thoughts, and that when I can tell my daughter who's in middle school, listen, you are not your thoughts. Like those aren't real.
Wow.
That's so good.
Like, and then techniques on how to bring it in, get it together and realize like, oh, like that's not really me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's like
it's the
something that was put on me from a teacher. Yeah. It's like, whatever, like it's not me, So yeah, I think like that is amazing. Like the things that, the transformations and things that are happening, but it's happening from like people like you and other people that are like so many, like thousands of like women and men too, like powerful people out there that are sharing authentic messages that are like, they're not getting paid. You're not getting paid to share your messages. Like you're not getting paid. I mean, like you have like a sponsor or whatever, but like anything you post on the internet that's open and vulnerable is because you want to share your authentic message.
Exactly.
And social media can be like two ways, right? So it can be like, there's the negative stuff you always hear about. Like if you ever turn on the news, all you hear about is the negative stuff.
Yeah.
But like it's like, what's in your news feed? Like what is in your news feed? Like that's your news. Like are you filling it with positivity and people that are adding value to your life and like changing, raising the vibration? Exactly. Or are you taking it the other way and the people that are bringing it down?
Exactly.
And it's up to you.
Exactly.
Like you have you are in charge of what goes into your head. You're in charge.
I love that.
So take control and be like, put stuff in front of your face that you actually want to be seeing and consuming, because what's going into you is what's going to come out of you.
Exactly. And it's going to be in charge. It's going to be like coloring all of your emotions. My friend Allie has this amazing thing. She always says that who you're following is a reflection of your consciousness. So if you go through who you're following and you're looking like, if you're always feeling like, kind of shitty or not well, like who are you following? What are you looking at? And what are you looking up to? And there's one of these things that I always ask, like I go through and do cleanses all the time on my social, because it's very important to me that that's a pure place and a place that I genuinely want to have a connection with who I'm following, and I want them to add value and vice versa. And so I ask a simple question of my lovers, of my friends, of people I follow, and it's just, do they expand you or do they contract you? And if there's contraction, there's no need. There's really not a necessary thing. It's not like you're forced to be in middle school with someone and sit next to them in class. You have the opportunity to bounce them out of your life.
Peace.
Exactly. Deuces. AF.
See ya, AF. No, but that's the third time I've heard that. Like, so that's a universe telling me. You know, like go through your feed and see like who's positive, who's negative, who's lifting you up, who's bringing you down. Because I mean, it's just like life's too short. You know, just be around the people that you love, the people that bring you up. You know, there's so many people out there, especially social media. Just everything's connected. So, listeners out there, do an audit.
Yeah, I mean,
keep us on there though.
Wait, hang on here. We chill, but
we're make cool.
But make sure you're following us three.
I know, but the thing is, like, you follow who you want. If you want to follow a bunch of people that put Drake quotes and their butt, that's fucking great. I love it. If that's what you want to see and that's what you want, like where you want your consciousness to be, I support it. But just make sure that you're curating your world because you can. Like, you're choosing your friends, you're choosing your lover, you're choosing who's in your life, you're choosing who you're following, you're choosing what you write, what you post, what art you create. So, you know, get back in the driver's seat with that.
So true. And especially with your posts that you're so vulnerable. I mean, what advice do you have to people out there that maybe, you know, just want to take their vulnerability to the next level, or they want to, you know, they're sharing just a little bit, but they, you know, taking that leap to just be vulnerable and being their authentic, true self. Like, what advice do you have for people out there?
Well, it's changed. I'm glad you're asking me that, because I haven't said this to anyone, because it's changed recently, in the sense that, one, I think the first thing to know is that no one does, how do I say this? Like, you don't owe anyone your truth. So the problem is, I think that now we've gotten so into like, oh, we have to just flip ourselves inside out violently, and like every post has to be us like digging at our wounds, or it's not vulnerable. Sometimes, like, I only actually recently came to understand the price of my privacy, because I've had none on there by my choice.
Right. But zero.
Zero. And now I'm kind of like, whoa, there is a sacred space that you need to have for yourself. So some things might need to be off limits. Some things don't need to be. You don't need to prove anything to someone else. So that's my first line of advice, is like, you don't owe anyone anything. And I like to heal in private. I actually don't write it. There's only one post on my whole page that I've written about something when I was in the midst and had no idea which direction. I wait till I go through it on my own and authentically, and really wait for, you know, that lesson to appear. And so if we're always trying to like do something for everyone else and trying to extract the lesson to prove or to put it up here, then it's not really art yet. It's just, you're like scratching it, you're opening wounds and just like putting them out there. So that's my first line of advice, is just, you know, make sure that's something you want to talk about, you want to share, that you feel ready to speak on.
That you're ready.
Yeah. Number two is that it's something from your heart, and that you feel like you want to share for a reason, like have an intention behind it. It doesn't have to be any certain way. It doesn't have to be how you see me write it or how you see your favorite person write it. It's just what I always like to ask, like, what do I want to see that I'm not? Then I create that thing. Like, if I when I first started Instagram, like, no one was talking about the things that I was talking about, and I was like, I want to read this, so I wrote it. So, you know, if you see a niche, or you see like a space that you're like, man, none of my favorite influencers are posting this. Well, you're probably the influencer that should be posting that, right? It doesn't matter how many followers you have. We need everyone shaking their truth up and spilling it. And everyone kind of just like looks up like, yeah, dang, no one's talking about this. I'm like, I scrolled your page. You're not either. Like you feel the voice. Like they probably haven't even thought of that, but you did. And there's a reason for that. So follow the thread.
Follow the thread. Boom.
Follow it. And listening to like that, sharing those messages, like you have to be the one, like you're your own filter. Like no one's telling you like yes or no to post it. Like it's up to you.
Exactly.
Like if it's something that's not, it's up to you. Like if it's something you want to share and it's authentic and it feels right, then like, do it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, it's just like, that's just like a process of going through it. And I've never really shared those kind of like on my personal page or my yoga with Pedro page. Shameless plug. Make sure you're following it. Yoga with Pedro. But I haven't really definitely lit AF. I haven't shared like a whole like those kind of like some stuff, but like it's like I'm getting there, and like sharing deeper messages. Like, do people want to read more? It's like yes, like people want to read. Like people that are following you and like They want to know, you know what I mean? They're following you for a reason, so just share the message that you want to share, and you'll create community around that. Like you're going to create community around the stuff that you want to share. People are going to follow you, and they'll not just follow you on the gram, they might follow you off the gram. And have you had like personal success with doing that off the gram, like taking people on yoga retreats and like work? Like I know you're close to LA, so and I know you work with Aloe Yoga. So like when you do these things at at the Grove or wherever you teach with Aloe and things, when you use your social platform, does it draw like people, like the people following you to these events and experiences?
Yeah, that's been a really, really cool gift because I've done retreats all over the world, from Sedona to Kauai to Mexico. There's just a ton of things, and it is so beautiful to have people come that have followed you for 7 years of your life, like have literally, and for me, they've seen every fucking up and down. So what's cool about that is when you come on retreat with me and you've been following me, it's almost like a cheat step. Like I already have their trust and I already have their belief. Mm-hmm. So that bridge that you normally have to bridge the gap, like we skip that step and we go straight to like the first night of all my retreats are typically a welcome circle. And it's like not a welcome circle. We're like, oh, I'm Jade and I did yoga. And it's like, we're going to open the chasm of your life story in whatever facet you want to share so that we can plant that seed that day and then move forward upwards to the light spaces. And I want to tell you something because your account actually is perfect for this. I was driving with my friend Dakota and Allie on a road trip, and we're all super deep. Like we always just talk about the depths and whatever else. So I do this thing called peel the onion, where it's just like when I'm on a road trip with friends, I just want to go deeper and deeper and deeper. Like what's the layers? So we were talking and I was like, hey, why don't you guys tell me like, what's your favorite account to follow? And I was thinking they're both poets and they're both like really beautiful artists. And I was thinking they would say something like, I don't know, some obscure artist I hadn't heard of or some poet. And literally my friend Dakota was like, meme accounts. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I spend so much time in the depths and in my own brain that it feels so good to me and it's so healthy and healing to just laugh. And I was like, I was so inspired by that because my whole point of circling back to, you don't have to write how I write or share those things. Like not every page has to be that. And actually in my, in one of my most recent relationships, I realized that what I loved most about him was he didn't live in the world that I lived in. He allowed me to go see what it was like at music festivals and all these other sides of life that were just fun, that were fun to be fun. And they didn't have to like go to this childhood trauma wound place. Like there's
right. It was just
both.
A good time.
Yeah. You need both in balance. And I didn't understand that for a long time in my life. So I just want everyone to know that like, you don't have to do what someone else is doing because you think it's brave and you admire it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that. If you're not called to do that, don't do it. We need yogi memes. Like we need those kinds of hilarious things.
We need Namaste AF. Exactly. We need all these memes. We need all the memes.
Yes. I need to be slayed. I want to laugh about this serious shit. I want to laugh about something like, oh man, I do that all the time. There's just something that's so therapeutic. And I realized from doing all these retreats that there's two ways in, and one is the very serious, heavy, earth-shaking, crying way, and then there's the other one that's light. It's laughter. It's like replacing that with joy. But some people can't get to the joy until they've unburdened themselves. But to go back again is that, yes, I freaking love, like I taught at Aloe at the Grove this Sunday, and I teach this Sunday again. And I had
Okay, cool. I saw that. I saw that on the gram.
But you didn't come, did you?
I'm in Florida.
I don't care. I'm just kidding. But it was cool because after class, you know, a couple of people come up to you and they just grab you by the shoulders and they're like tears in their eyes. And like, I've been following you for 5 years. I've seen everything. Like, you have no idea how you've impacted my life. So that person is in that class, and I don't mind about people admiring. I just admire that they come and their whole heart is in the room with me before I even ask, before I even have to like, you know, snake it out of them in a pose. They're already there. So that part is really, really rad about meeting people from my Instagram.
From your account. Yeah, because the vibe, the community is already created.
Exactly.
Like, they're already part of your tribe, even though you haven't met them.
Yeah.
Like, they're already part of the tribe.
Yeah, you've already been
part
holding space like years before. So it's like
Exactly.
holding space is already there.
Without even realizing.
They're vulnerable. They're ready.
Without even knowing, you know? And I actually have a friend, Jade. I don't know if I told you about this before. I just thought of it a minute ago. That I have a friend that went on your retreat. One of my students in Florida, named Kristen. I think she went to Mexico.
Really?
She went with you to Mexico.
Oh, right.
I think so.
Oh my God.
Maybe Hawaii. I think it was Mexico though. So, but yeah, like, how amazing is that, you know? And I met her and her mom at a DJ Drez Marty Nico class here where I live locally in Florida. And then I met them there, and now they like hang out and come to my class and are so like, they're like, you know, they come and hang out and come to my class all the time. And, you know, she told me that like somehow we made the connection about you, and I was like, what is happening? Like, how is this all working? Like, the web is so big, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, magical, super magical.
Absolutely. She's lovely.
So it's so amazing what you said about retreats and community, how we connected all those pieces. I absolutely love it. And for me, everything is about community. When I'm creating experiences, when I'm doing things, it's all about community. And I've used Instagram to help, you know, funnel people and connect with more people. And the memes have connected people around the globe. But, you know, the reality is, it's like, you know, I'm in South Florida, you know, but I mean, like, I'm not in like a crazy demographic. I'm not in Los Angeles, you know? So for me, it's like, how can I'm sharing these messages. I'm connecting with people. I'm taking people on trips and retreats. And I just want to help people feel better. And I want to help people connect more. And it not only connecting with themselves, it's connecting with other people that are just showing up at the experience with their, like you said, with their heart in their hand. And then, you know, connecting with them. Like, why are you, like, everyone that comes to an experience like your retreats or your classes, or they're there for a reason, and there's got to be some sort of similarity to come to the experience, especially one that's not like at the gym. Like, if you come to like a special workshop, there's got to be some similarity, because the message is going to be for everyone. So it's got to be something that draws them in, you know, like some sort of connection that we can connect with each other.
Absolutely. I mean, the opposite of addiction is connection. And so a lot of us are formulating these addictions. And I love one of these definitions I always talk about is that addiction is that which you reach for when you don't want to feel like yourself or feel what you're feeling. And so I feel like everyone is kind of disconnected and isolated. And we've put ourselves in these little boxes on Instagram, and we've connected with people. But true connection is eye gazing. It's staying in presence with people. It's being able to feel each other.
Oh.
You know, I think that, right? I know. So I feel like that's kind of the essence of why everyone comes to, at least my things, is they want to feel again. They want to feel a sense of community. And a lot of people feel like they don't have maybe a good family life or good friends. And I am so lucky to offer a wide variety of people that happen to have just curiosity about the world and people and themselves and their feelings that come to my event. So it's really, really such an honor.
I've heard about, I read about on one of your posts about the eye gazing, and I just started. Let's touch on that. I just started doing the eye gazing, and it was actually from the 4-Hour Workweek book that Brian had recommended me from Tim Ferriss. Have you read the book, Jade? Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour
eye gazing in there.
So yeah, he talks about the first homework assignment that he gives in the book. I believe was it the first homework assignment, Brian?
Yeah, it was the first homework assignment to get out of like being like comfortable. Like just do something that's uncomfortable, get you out of your comfort zone. So like you stare at one person's eye, like, and just focus on one eye.
But you don't look right, and you don't look away first. Like that's the thing. It's like because they're gonna stare back at you, and you don't look away first. And it's to break that uncomfortable thing because nobody wants to if you pull up to the stoplight, you look to your left, and then the guy looks to your right, and you're staring at each other. Like who's looking away first? He's like, don't look away first. And just embrace that uncomfortableness because it is like it gets uncomfortable quick.
Absolutely.
So I've been practicing that, and when you said eye gazing, I was like, Jade's done those workshops. So can you tell us a little bit about those eye gazing workshops and like what is it and what do you like? What is it for?
So eye gazing is something I used to teach in a rehab center for over 2 years, and so that was the population I worked with a lot, about 3 to 4 times a week, and I just saw how presence and connection was the fastest way to your emotions, to your heart, to hope in your life. And so we used to sit them down, and you'd just sit knee to knee with someone, and you'd have them close their eyes, connect to their breath, and then you have them open their eyes. And it's left eye to left eye, so I have them point to their left eye so that they're gazing in the right. It's like the seat of the soul. It's like the sweeter side of you. And at first a lot of people laugh and they think it's funny because that's their defense mechanism. It's their mask.
Right.
So it's okay. You can laugh, you can giggle, you can feel however you feel, but you don't talk. Like that's the one thing I try and say is like, if you feel so out of your mind uncomfortable, then say something in your head, like telepathically, but just try and not say anything. Try and be in this experience and just watch which emotions like roll up. Because after that is another layer and another layer and another layer. And you see people just crying after just experiencing the depth of intimacy with someone that is a stranger sometimes, or sometimes it's someone who is a lover that feels like a stranger. I love doing like couples with that. But it really is just about, instead of a staring contest, it's really just a softening, a curiosity. Can you sit and stay when you want to leave? And it's almost like a commitment practice. So I used to do it a lot with other people, but then it's a whole new level when you do it in the mirror with yourself. So that's kind of the basis of, there's so many ways to, absolutely, you should try it. There's so many ways to run eye gazing, but it's one of the most potent practices. And I don't think I can teach a retreat without doing it every day almost.
God. And you said that like to sit, I think it was like sit with it, like when it's uncomfortable, like just getting past that where you want to do something else or you want to take your mind off that and do like another activity, but just sitting through that uncomfortable experience, eye gazing or, with someone else or looking in the mirror, sitting past that discomfort, the breakthrough happens.
Exactly. It's just around the corner of the thing that's screaming at you to turn around.
Yes.
So it's
yes.
Yes.
Like power. Like seriously, like I just feel it. I can feel the power of that. And we've talked about that before. Like with Brian touched on that with meditation that he started. Like it's that moment. It's that moment that when you're like, I just can't anymore. Yeah. Like I got to get out of here to do whatever.
You're like just itching to be anywhere else.
Yes. That's why I paused for a little bit because I was thinking about in my own experience. So I've been back in February, I told myself I'm going to meditate 90 days in a row. I'm going to get this as a habit. I'm just going to do it for 90 days. After 90 days, I'll stop. But after like 60 days, a habit formed, so I wanted to do it. So I started out, on Insight Timer, doing like 5 minutes for the first couple weeks, 10 minutes the first month, and 20 minutes. And then I was stuck at like 30 minutes. 30 minutes was like my sweet spot until recently, like I hit the 6-month period. I'm like, I'm going to fucking sit with this for an hour.
Wow.
Like this is going to be torturous. I'm going to sit with this for an hour. And that hour was one of the hardest things I've ever done, like in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I caught myself like sitting at that moment, that breakthrough moment where I'm like, fuck, I need to get out of this. I need to quit. I need to do something. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go look at my phone or I'm going to go do something else to just distract me.
Yes.
But just sitting in that, I was like, holy fuck, this is the breakthrough right here. I just sat through, I wanted to quit. 10 times
Exactly.
and just sitting through that. So
I'm so proud
powerful.
of you. Yeah, that is powerful, and it translates to me exactly as it is in yoga. Like you're in these poses, and your body is just used to giving up, and so essentially, it's just can you stay and push past one more second, hold
Yeah.
for one more like crunch or whatever it is you're doing, and that's where I found the grace in my practice. I love. They always say that like or I've heard it said that when you first start yoga, you're just in survival mode. You're just trying to survive the poses, and most often you don't. And then the next one is technique. Like you start to actually be able to hang out in the poses so you can fine tune and find your alignment. But the third is the level of grace. It's when you like really soften and flow and linger and you don't run from things that scare you anymore. You're like curious, right? You turn your fear into excitement.
Yes. And you like examine it. You're the observer.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
why am I okay? How do I soften this warrior too? Like,
Yeah. How do I
where
do,
do I
or
need
how
to
do
go
I
next?
Exactly. It's always mirroring your mat just mirrors your life. So if you're really agitated or you're in a heartbreak or you're just in this space of like, God, I want to be anywhere else, it just allows you to lay the bricks or the groundwork so that you can stay with yourself when you want to leave. So you can fight and, stop fighting yourself and start fighting for yourself. It's a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Brian Kess said this. I took one of his master class. He's like, you can make yoga shit. Like you can bring all the shit you already have in your life
Oh,
and you can bring
yeah.
it to your yoga practice and you can make your yoga shit because you're bringing all that stuff, that competitiveness, that ego or whatever. Like I want to get strong. I want to be in shape. Or, you can come to a place of like love and acceptance of yourself and like, this is me
He's such a
type shit.
badass.
I love him.
I took his class one time in LA and he's just like walking by me and all of a sudden he's like, bruh, he just like burps this like frog burp and I was like, where the fuck am I? And I just loved it because he just like disrupted your thoughts. He didn't give a shit. And I was like, yes, this is like an inspiring ass teacher to me. He's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to the one in Santa Monica
Yeah.
on Third or whatever is in the Promenade? Yeah. They shut it down. They shut it down. Brian and I were just out there recently in Santa Monica, and like they were shutting it down, man.
Well, it's a donation
RIP to
class
that
and I
studio.
feel like I heard that no one would
Yeah,
pay. They
it's
just
just
take it for free.
that's
So sad.
crazy. Like that's so interesting. Like it says donation, but it's like pay what feels good for you. Like what is the value? Like okay, so donation for a second because I don't know. Well, let me just say what I was gonna say. When you do these experiences for a donation, it's like pay what feels good. Like honoring that someone took time and space to do this thing, and they're offering it to so that it's accessible
Yeah,
to everyone. So it's accessible to
exactly.
everyone. And because yoga, we want yoga to be accessible to everyone. Like that's why the internet is there. That's why YouTube is there, and that's why there's donation-based classes, so that yoga can be accessible to the people that can't afford to go to a high-end gym or a high-end studio or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
So, but put something in the jar, like
Right?
something. Put
Yeah.
something in the jar to support the space. So, because you want to keep coming here,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
You want this teacher to keep showing
Yeah,
up,
I
right?
always too. I try and like my challenges and stuff. Every time that people pay to do my challenges, I give back in hourly fashion to. I donate my time to this foundation my friends Asha started called Bridget Foundation, and it's really special because it's like teenage girls from low income. Like really low income or really rough neighborhoods, and I'll go do meditations, and it's these kids that have nothing. Like they were told to wear yoga clothes and they just have their pajamas. Like they have like one item that they can stretch in, or they just have jeans on. And you're like, okay. And it's so sad. Some of those girls just, they don't have, there's one she does that are teen moms. So it's all like 11 and 12-year-old kids having kids. And they have no guidance. They have nothing. And one girl in particular had a really bad lazy eye. And so I was teaching this class and it was all about emotions and feeling and letting everything step forward. And she had such a hard time like walking up to me, and she made herself walk up to me and she couldn't look me in the eyes. She was like looking down and she's like, hi. And I was like, hey. And she said, why did I feel like I wanted to cry in your class? And I said,
Oh,
oftentimes there's something in our home life that is triggering us, or like I talked a lot about our moms and our dads, like, is there something that happens at home? And she's like, when my family gets mad at me, she could barely say these words. My family gets mad at me. They tease me about my lazy eye. They tell me I'm ugly and stupid
Oh
and
my
dumb. And I'm like,
God.
this girl is having such a shit time at school. And then she has to go home to her safe space in quotes and like just get destroyed. It's so heartbreaking. So, you know, when you donate to teachers like that, or, you know, when there's someone that gives back, it's so cool to actually have the space and the time and the energy for me to go then and give back to people who really need it, who wouldn't actually have that exposure.
Yeah,
Wow. Thank you for sharing that thing about donate, because I hold a big donation-based class here locally in my town for full moon.
Awesome.
For full, because we're on the beach, so we got full moon that rises east. You know, we're east in the water,
cool.
so it's incredible. So my friend and I host these big events, and it's donation based, and that just made me think, like, you know, the event's growing massive, and it's like I should do that. Like, we should do a nonprofit.
Sure.
I should give back my time, because it's like it's going to happen now. It's going to happen now that this conversation has happened. So thank you for holding the space for this conversation, so that I can do that, because that'll make me feel good, and that's giving. That just keeps the rotation
It just
going.
inspires people to show up too, because they're like, oh wow, my donation pays for some child to do that. It's just beautiful.
Yep.
So and
wow, and that's so
even
sad.
like just everybody out there, like if you go to a donation based class, and if you have, you know, if the suggested minimums say $15 or $20, and you're just feeling like, hey, I'm going to give $40 or something like this, like that money is used to do this free work to go into these facilities and help people. So it's like, it's not just putting in the yoga teacher's pocket. Like it's going to help other people. It's that energy exchange. I mean, what is money really? It's just transferred to other people. It's just a transfer of service. So if you're going to go to a donation-based class and you have zero money, I suggest you go there early and you help out, or you just provide some sort of service. Please.
Karma trade. Yeah, karma.
Or pass it on
karma.
after, you know.
Exactly.
Good deed. But I also want to say too, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, maybe that money does deserve to go into that teacher's pocket, because, you know, there's so many studios that pay nothing. I've worked for so many studios that legitimately, I worked for months, and they'd be like, I'm so sorry, we can't pay you. We're under, or we're doing this. And just kind of like, sorry, you're done. Like, you've done all that work for free. So, and certifications are not cheap. And, you know, people need to eat. And that's kind of my thing in the industry, is like, no one needs to feel shame for holding space for people. Like, it's a big thing. You wouldn't just tell your doctor, like, oh yeah, sorry, I can't pay you. Like, you know, honor those people that are holding space for you, because it's not just I'm giving you a pose. Like, they're giving you a space to grieve, to feel, to express. And that's powerful.
Yes. It's a service.
Amazingly
You're
powerful.
Providing a service. Like, yoga teachers are providing that service.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And these experiences that you create, like, you know, we talked about yoga retreats, eye gazing, you know, public classes, all that kind of stuff. You know, like, where do you draw your inspiration from to create like experiences? You know, like, where does it come from to create new things? Like, I would never think to do like an eye gazing workshop. That would never cross my head ever.
Well, honestly, I attribute most of it to channeling. Like, being at the addiction rehab center, they were so open. I just had to get creative and find new ways to lead them to their heart. And the eye gazing and you know, most of the modalities that I do came from seeing people I couldn't crack, that would hold the group back because they'd be laughing, or they'd be like, this one guy had a needle in his arm still and could not afford to get it out of his arm. It got stuck. And he was like tatted, and he was laughing in the eye gaze, and everyone else was like trying to, you know, be serious and receive their you know, their emotions. And he just couldn't do it. And so it zeroed in on him energetically. And I kept asking the question, like, to his soul, essentially, like, what will break you? What will make you? What will lead you back in? And that's kind of where the death meditation was born, was just asking the question of all these people of like, what will get you there? That's kind of how it is. But I mean, the eye gazing too, the first time I ever heard it was from my friend Kevin Paris. And he had,
I've seen you post about
phenomenal.
Him before.
I mean, ladies, if you're looking for something nice to look at, I call him the Ryan Gosling of yoga music, because he's just so handsome and so talented and genuinely like one of the best humans. And he's calls himself a hug dealer, like best hugs. You guys have to meet him. But he told me one time, like offhand, he's like, oh yeah, I went to this one retreat. He plays music for all these retreats, and they taught this eye gazing thing. And I was like, oh, what was that? And he couldn't really tell me. He was just like, I don't know. They just kind of stared at each other and people were crying. And I was like, well, fuck, that sounds cool. So I just started inventing it, right? I just started inventing like, what would make me feel? What would make me cry? What would make me question? What are the things that I run from? So I just try and lead people. So it's always just asking the question. I've been curious since I was little of why people do what they do. And so it's just being in presence with someone and not thinking too much in your head, but being in the emotion of that person and that their essence, their aura, their, however you want to call it, their spirit. Like, what do they need? What are they running from? And then you follow that.
Yeah. And well, there's a lot of power in that. Like, I got the chills when Kevin was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I was just staring at each other, people were crying. Like, oh, shit. You know? But that spawned something creative in you. Like, that touched a chord in you where you were able to think, like, you know, like, obviously that's something that that it is powerful and can help transform people. And that's what you're about. You know, you're trying to help people.
Well, let me ask you.
You're trying to help people. So how did that lead?
I'm asking you,
shit. Pedro's about to cry. Pedro's about to cry.
Oh, shit, I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry right now. I don't want to cry, Jade.
This is for you too, Brian. I want to know,
shit.
when you look in the mirror, like, when's the last time you looked in the mirror and like held your gaze? Like, what was your feeling? What was your emotion? Do you even do that?
I don't, but I'm going to. After you said that you can do it in the mirror, I'm going to do that.
Do you have a lover?
I do. My wife's in the other room.
Well, there you go. After this, call your wife in right now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But you should sit with her, just knee to knee, close your eyes. And I like to intensify it. There's like a couple tricks, but I like to have people hold their hands. So then we have, once you introduce touch, it's just like you break that wall. So people can like kind of hide from each other gazing if they're really good at hiding from their emotions. But when you hold hands with someone, like, now you're breaking that fourth barrier. Like, here we are, like, I can't ignore this. So I also ask them questions and I have them squeeze based on yes or no. So that's like a communication that happens, and then they're kind of forced to express and feel something. So then, you know, there's so many aspects to it. But, you know, I'm sure you guys don't look. I'm sure many men don't look in the mirror. No. So we just walk around like ignoring ourselves.
Yeah, I literally just look at my beard, like in the mirror.
I was gonna say,
and, like,
I would
100%. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I look at my beard and I'm just like,
what do you think about your beard?
I'm just.
Do you talk
I fucking
shit
love
to
it. Like, I honestly like love my beard.
That's amazing.
Like, probably more than like I should love myself, but like that's another thing. I got to work on that. You know.
Wait. Is this you in this picture that says it's just fucking meditation? Is that your beard? That's your beard?
Yes.
What a savage. I'm talking to this man. He's still gangster. Holy shit.
That's him,
dude.
man.
Whoa.
That's him.
I'm mind blown. You're dope.
Yeah, that's like my motto since like I started the Instagram is it's just fucking yoga and it's just fucking meditation. But now it's a paradox because like I take my yoga practice so like serious, but then at the same time like I have to reel it back in. Like when I do take it a little too serious, like if my numbers are low in class or something like that, I'm like, it's just fucking yoga.
Exactly.
Like,
you're also
relax.
holding a cat, like a baby. Yeah. I just scrolled. That's cute. How cute.
This is the best conversation I've ever listened to. I didn't say
Wiley.
Shit. I was
my gosh. I thought Wiley was the man that you posted, which was you. I was like, oh, who's that? And then I got to the cat page. Wow, so amazing.
No, that's my little soul cat. He was coming around our neighborhood, like eating some food that we left out, and I was just like one day, like he was so scared. I just like stayed out there, and I'm like, we're gonna be friends. And I just stayed out there for like 2 hours, and now he's my homie.
That's so cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. Your beard is
the last.
Oh, thanks, thank you.
The last like 4 minutes, just listening to you guys talk was like amazing. I was like, I feel like I'm the guest on the show, and Jade, like Brian's the guest. I'm just observing.
I know, right?
Jade is the host. Jade is the host.
No, Pedro, reel this back in. Come on.
Yeah, sorry about that. You have to take it over.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. No, like okay, so when you said sit knee to knee, put your hands together, look in the eyes, I was already thinking like I'm crying. I'm crying. I'm crying. Right? So, and when I look in the mirror, I don't know. I say positive affirmations to myself, like when I look in the mirror, like personally, you know, like I'm gonna get it. Like I got this. Let's go. Like that kind of stuff. Like that's what I say to myself when I look in the mirror. Like I pump myself up, kind of thing, like a hype man. Like I'm basically my own. I'm basically my wife will tell you. My wife will tell you like I'm basically my own hype man. Like in the mirror. So
I love that.
you know, that's what I like to do when I look in the mirror. But I'm gonna take a closer look next time. Honestly though, like, and I think all the listeners out there that are hearing this right now, like. Take a closer look, like an extra pause before you, like right when you want to look away, look deeper and see what's in there. Take a peek, because that's where like
take a peek
because there's a lot of stuff going on in there. You know,
for sure. There's so much magic. I mean, that's kind of my favorite thing to teach is eye gazing and just sitting with yourself and a person that's a stranger. I can't really do it in classes though, especially at the gym, because I get too many complaints afterwards. They're like,
Karen
don't
and
take
Carl.
me that far. Yeah, Karen and Carl, not down with that.
Yeah.
But
No.
on the retreats, they're like, if I don't get some eye gazing, I will beat you. So I always know they're expecting it.
I want to feel.
Yeah.
I want to feel. You know,
Because that's like coming back to like being present. When you're staring in someone's eyes, like you're there. Like you're not really anywhere else. You're feeling that awkward moment and present.
Well, yeah, you could be somewhere else. Like if you, for example, if you're like, you gaze into your lover's eyes all the time, and you could just kind of go on a pattern, or just like, you know, what's it called? Like you don't even recognize or realize you're not here. So eye gazing it doesn't allow you to reach for anything. So then you're therefore forced to be in that experience in a more present, potent way.
Yeah. And being present is the key, you know, like that's the key. And I've been working on that a lot in my relationship in the past few months, is like putting the phone fucking down.
I love that. I'm so happy for her.
And being, you know, yeah, absolutely. And like being more present, you know, because when I realized one day I'm sitting here and I'm doing my thing on my phone and this and that. And it's after she gets home from work, and I'm like, she hasn't picked up her phone since she walked in the door at 5, and it's like 9 p.m. Like that's like 4 hours, and I'm over here like trying to hustle, chat with somebody, on DM, and like talking to you know, who the fuck knows and where the fuck knows, and like why don't I like not do that? Because the most important person in my life, or one, you know, like is right there. Exactly. So, you know, like the foremost, like my family is number one, and like my wife is number one. And
so happy.
Like what am I doing? What am I doing with like?
I just want to throw something random out there, that when I actually met Pedro,
here goes the wild card.
Pedro in California, we were both on our phones like a lot, and I felt so comfortable, like because he was on his phone too, like we're like, oh, he's got a meme idea, I have a meme idea. We're just like, okay, we got a comment. I've never felt so comfortable being on my phone. Thank you, Pedro.
That's awesome. Wow, that was.
I was holding space. I was holding space for your phone, bro.
That's really sweet and endearing. I love that you guys connected in your disconnection.
Right.
Yeah, you know, connecting. You know, but finding balance with it all. So tell us, Jade, how do you find balance? You know, because obviously you're an influencer. You know, like that's like do you consider yourself an influencer? Let me ask you that. Do you consider yourself one?
I consider everyone an influencer. I think anyone that is speaking or moving, you're always influencing something, whether negative or positive. So
yes.
I guess by the term you're using, yes, I suppose.
By the Graham's terms,
yeah,
you know
sure,
what I mean?
we can do that.
Yes. Okay, we could say that. So, how do you find balance as an influencer, or you know, a human? Let's call it a human. You know, how do you find balance between having to be on your phone for maybe work things or just sharing things or whatever, and not being on your phone these days, like in this Jade right now? Like, how are you finding that balance? So I didn't have
balance up until last year. I was trying to like dig the world out one hole at a time. So I was in my DMs pretty much all the time, just having conversations with people, just suggesting things and trying to help them. And it was actually my last relationship that kept saying, you know, you are terrible at managing your time, and after you get off of your phone, you're just like crumpled. You don't have anything left. And so he kept reflecting at me like, wow, this is actually not a healthy thing. And then my friend Drake, and my teacher, he was saying, he's like, I was deep in meditation. I realized that you're in like an abusive relationship with your followers, or like with your phone and with your DMs, is really what he was talking about, because I felt this responsibility. So I started to realize that I was having issues with that. And I had to shift and I had to stop doing so much work for free. That was, my biggest wake up call. But now I spend so much time off my phone because I actually I hate texting. I don't like emails. I don't like, I don't really like to be on my phone. And Instagram to me has to be a place for my art and should feel very therapeutic. And I only work with one sponsorship. I only work with Aloe Yoga, and it's because it feels very authentic to me, and it's not like post once every day and sell something you never wear. Like, this is what I wear all the time. So only working with one brand throughout the entire time that I've only worked with one brand ever, has been really helpful. And I never want to post something that's not actual content, that's actual meat and potatoes, but I take a lot of time off there, and I have really serious non-negotiable self-care routines.
That's great.
That's so important.
That's so great that you have.
Because I noticed in your posts, like you really comment back to most people. For what I saw.
I mean,
like you get out there and that's work to comment and be, just not put emoji.
Lots of work.
Well, I'm actually glad. Yeah, there's no emoji. I wish I just did an emoji. No, it's really cool, right? I know, black heart.
Oh, jeez.
But wait, what did you just say? It was really good. Commenting back.
No idea.
It's fine. Thank God.
I'm just kidding.
I'm
just kidding.
I try and comment back because it's kind of how I find balance now is I want people to know that, hey, when I'm on there and I'm posting something, I'm going to sit there for an hour plus afterwards, and I'm going to like be there to talk to you. Because what was happening was I was having these friendships and relationships grow in DMs, but then I was just like, it's like if 80,000 people had your phone number and could text you about anything, it was just getting super deep.
Crazy.
And I get like, people saying in my DMs, like, I want to commit suicide, give me a reason to live.
Oh gosh,
and it would just be like at 10 p.m. at night when I'm about to go to bed, and there's no fucking way I'm just gonna like send them an emoji and go on with my day. Like,
right,
sit
like
there
black heart.
No black heart.
No black heart.
That's a purple heart.
Yeah, that's like
or
all
orange.
the hearts and then all the voice memos. Like, I was just going back and forth with these people. So I had to kind of train, in a way, like, hey, this is where I'm going to show up for you. And I'm going to go back and forth. And like, I want to have a conversation with you, but I also want to stay healthy, because I actually got the onslaught of an autoimmune issue because I was just so devoid of energy, because I was just pouring. And energetic exchange is so freaking important. So that's why I say pay your yoga teachers, pay your healers, respect all those people, because you're going to make them sick. They need to have ways to take care of themselves. And oftentimes helpers are people that are just givers in every facet of their life. So they're just giving to depletion, and they won't stop when they need to stop. So, it's all of our responsibility to take care of those people in our lives.
Yeah, been there so many times. I've been the giver, and then not replenishing the cup, and then you're pouring from an empty cup, and then that doesn't work for very long, and then shit starts breaking. Shit starts breaking. Take care of yourself.
Shipping. But that's the thing too, is they're saying that don't give. I watched this TED Talk one time. She's like, don't give from the cup. Give from the saucer. Be so overflowing that you have excess on the bottom, and that's when you give.
Oh,
right?
Look at that. Thanks for that inspo. Thanks for that nugget.
Yeah.
Replay that.
Yeah.
Write that
for
one
sure.
down, folks.
Next caption on Yogi Bryan.
Yeah.
And a black
heart. There you go, Hardy.
I'm a fan of black hearts.
Me too. They're fucking great. Gangster and loving.
If I throw a red heart out, it's like, black heart.
The wife might get mad if you throw some red heart out, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
We
already had that talk. We already had that talk. She's like, hearts off limits on comments. Hearts off limits.
What a badass. I like her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jade, what's your top used emoji on your phone?
Actually, this is so embarrassing. It usually is, but as of late in my emotional response, let me see. It's wait, how do you I gotta comment. I'm pretty sure it's the crying face. Is that not so sad?
But
sometimes
tears
it's because I'm laughing hard, but
yeah, but is it right? Because it could be the laugh. You could be laughing hard.
Crying's like it seems like a theme.
Doesn't
crying,
it?
like
I'm ready to make it a different theme. I want to transition. I'm ready for like the joy emoji. I'm not sure what that is, or the poop
but
one.
I think crying's like so important. Like I embrace it. Like
you were
even
being
on my
serious.
memes, I embrace it. Like pigeon, I'm fucking emotional.
Right?
Like in
Oh,
pigeon, that's just my
you just
pose. Like
tears in your beard. That's beautiful.
tears like rolling down my beard. I mean, it's healthy for the beard. The tears, gentlemen out there.
That's probably why it grows. You should sell that
Oh my
idea.
gosh.
But honestly,
Yeah.
like I want to say something really fast on that because I did these. Thank you. Oh, perfect. Yeah, it's 8-hour
Take your time.
podcast. It's fine.
We got all night.
There is this. I do these events with my friends in LA and all over the world, but we did this one where this woman brought her daughter. She was like, "Look," she was like, "I'm so grateful to be here. Look around. Like, who's here? Like, there's so little people here, like women," she was saying. She's like, "We need to spread the word. Like, women have no place to talk and we've been repressed and da, da, da." And I was like, that's so true. And look around, like, who's missing? We had one guy that came. Like, there is no men in this circle. So, like, fuck the goddess circles. Like, yes, and like, we need all people circles. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't like the mix or like the non-mix. Like, the most powerful retreats I've ever had were the ones hands down that I had men and women. And women have this predisposed idea of like assumption that the men they're going to come are the ones that have like hurt them in the past or triggered them. I'm like, no, if they're coming to a healing circle, they're just as damaged as you feel you are. And they want to also be included and realize that no one is damaged beyond repair. We're just flawed little beings. And together is when we strengthen. It's not just women rising and men going down. Like, that's not how you find balance. So
Yeah. 'Cause
No, stronger
Exactly.
together.
and when it comes down to it, like everybody just wants love and acceptance. Like
yeah.
men, women, children, freaking donkey emojis, camel emojis. Like we all, like, even emojis need love.
Everyone, all of them. Well, I think that honestly, there's like this point where men or children, like when they're children, they're included in like basic needs and like in emotions. But then they get to this one point when they become a man and they don't get the same rights as a child, as a boy. People stop looking at them as human beings who have hearts and needs. And honestly, the men are my focus now because I realize that the women are largely being triggered over and over and, abused, but the abuser is where we need to start. It's like the root of the issue is oftentimes the man who has no one holding space for him. He's just left to become this monster and feel like he's just outcast. And the further you outcast this person, the further away he gets from his heart. And that's not the way.
More and more disconnected.
Exactly.
Just more and more.
Yeah, holding
disconnected.
the
No, it's not
emotions
the way.
in, like not letting them out. They come out some way. What you repress becomes stress, I've heard.
Yes.
What you
Ooh.
repress becomes stress. So if you repress it, it's going to deal with you somehow. It's going to deal with your ass somehow.
Yeah. Is that a Tony Robbins
That's
quote,
one of
Brian?
my therapists
I just asked.
told me.
One of my therapist.
One of fucking 10.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's why I'm a yogi. Like
no,
most yogis like have some shit going on. So
I mean,
embrace
all of them.
it.
That's why we're
Oh
all
my
crazy.
God.
I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why we're all here because we're nuts.
Cheers.
We're all here. Like that's what that meme. Yeah, we're all here because we're nuts. Jade, tell me about, or tell the listeners and us about the death meditation, because that's the one, like you talked about it, like the experiences you've led in this, and you've touched on it a little bit in the very beginning, and then I wanted to get back to it because I want to know about it, specifically because I remember the Instagram post where you were looking at the magazine.
Oh my God.
Do you know what I'm talking
gonna
about?
cry. Yeah. Oh.
Let's all cry together.
Crying is
Yeah, let's
all
take a
cry.
moment, take a knee. Cheers. I'll cry into my beer.
Because
It's fine.
yeah. But if you could tell us about that, if you could touch on that specific experience and like how it got to the magazine, along the whole thing. If you could like tell the listeners about that, because I think that offering that you have, I've never heard of that before, and I really think that if someone's out there and is looking to go deep, I don't know, maybe they're gonna.
Perfect. I'll be
it
there 10 p.m. tonight. Thank you. Yeah. So I back up to the situation where the man had the needle in his arm. He at the rehab center. I kept asking, like, what will get you to where you need to be? What will get you to see your divinity, your light, your beauty, your love, your heart? And I just heard so clearly, like, he needs to die. And I started walking them through this eye gaze, and I just started envisioning their last day on earth. and it just flowed out of me. And I just did this whole experience where I just invented this man came, and however you were in your day that moment, like you got tapped on the shoulder and he said, I'm so sorry. Like, Pedro, this is your last day of life. Like, this is your last moment on earth. So you're on this show with me right now, but you don't get to go and say bye to your kids. You don't get to go and text anyone else. Like, however you spoke to them last is the last thing that they'll have heard from you. And you just have to go, and there's no more time. So that's kind of how it starts. And it's just, I get chills every time. And I walked him through it, and it dropped him into his body so deep. So I did the whole experience, and it came out in this one way. And afterwards, my friend Drake who taught with me was like, when did you learn about the death meditation? Like, I didn't know you could teach that. And I was like, what is that? He's like, you just did the death meditation. I'd never heard of it. I didn't even know that it's a thing. It's an ancient Tibetan practice to inspire. By envisioning your death, you inspire yourself to live more. And I've done little to no research in it because I actually I want to have it be my own craft. And like the way I do it is so different. Anna Forrest has one in her book, Fierce Medicine. It's very different from mine. Hers is like a visualization. Mine is, I do it as an eye gaze. So you're actually letting the person in front of you become certain people in your life, and you're having your last moment with them. And it's so powerful and painful. I mean, if you're like, wherever you are, if you're driving, don't do that. But if you're at a place where you can.
No. or recording a podcast.
A real death meditation is going to happen.
I'm like, yeah.
But
don't do it if you're recording a podcast or driving.
Yes. But close your eyes. Like, close your eyes for a moment and think about.
Okay. Let's close.
If you could no longer see the people that you love, or people that you maybe never even got the chance to meet, like, what does that make you feel? Like, did you hold back in your life? Did you wait to take risks and to fall in love? Did you hold yourself from all the things you came here to be? So it's usually about an hour long visualization with these people in front of you that their face literally changes into that person that I'm guiding you to see. So it's a really emotional process. I don't think I've ever had it where someone hasn't cried. There's some big wails and rocks and rolls. So I created it that night. Flash forward to, I met this guy on Instagram who had been following me. His name's Dave Moore, and he's a lovely human from up north. And he creates this, he is on the board for Esalen, which is a world famous retreat center in Big Sur. And I never thought, like, in a million years that I would ever teach at Esalen. Like, it's a crazy, crazy place, and one of my favorite places on earth. So he reached out to me just from knowing my Instagram. He was like, hey, I don't know what it is, but I want you at this event. And I don't care what you teach. I want you to teach what you want. And I'm going to give you the first, the first act is you. So it was right? I'm like, you know what? Let's hit him with a death meditation. Let's go in hot.
I'm bringing the I'm bringing the heat.
Time to die.
Everybody cry. Time to die. Welcome to the retreat.
Your last moment on earth.
Jade.
Yeah, so I got up there and it was like 80 people, and it was science meets yoga. So it's really badass, like group of people and presentations. They were talking about microbiomes and just lots of advances in science meets meditation meets yoga. So I walked up there, and when I teach, I wear really cute, I wear aloe. It's really a really trendy, I love it. It's like hot outfit. And then I had my hair done and I had my makeup on. So I walked up there, and I guess everyone kind of was like, oh, look at this. I look really young too. I'm 31, but I look like 11. And I walked up there, and everyone was like, oh, who's this like bitch from Orange County? Like, literally that was their vibe, because I just walked up and I was like, hi, I'm Jade. And I had them pair up, and I used to separate couples, but I realized how detrimental that was when I went with my boyfriend to an eye gazing event, and we were separated, and I was like, this is so painful. Like, I wanted to experience it with him. So now I keep them together, and I realized it's like a way more potent experience with your significant other. So anyways, I let them all pair each other up. And then I paired the people that didn't have a significant other. So I do the death meditation. I don't know anyone that's in the audience. Like, obviously I just got there. It's the first night. And this couple, two gentlemen couple, so a gay couple, were sitting there older. And I saw them, I couldn't tell if they were together at first, because they were just so cold to each other. Like, they were very stern, and their gazes didn't give away anything. And so then I had everyone hold hands, and I just kept being drawn to this couple. And by the end, they were like in each other's laps, holding each other, sobbing. And afterwards, I found out that, oh gosh, it makes me cry every time. My friend Keith, who's now my friend, that was this man that I was looking at had a stroke and almost died the month before that event.
Oh,
And
gosh.
he was there with a significant other to just desperately reconnect because he was driving off the lot. He just bought a new car and he was so stressed. He worked all the time. He was just like, go, go, go. And he didn't have time for his kid or his lover. And he started to have a stroke while he was driving.
Oh,
and he had to
gosh.
drive himself to the hospital. And like, it was just the most crazy story that I heard later on. Because afterwards he came up to me. He was like, I literally almost died last month. And the death meditation that I just experienced was 20 times that in what I felt. So, you know, he faced death. And then to say that about that experience, just, it rocked my world. So I don't check my messages. Like I said, I don't like to be on my phone. I don't like to go on Facebook or Messenger. And he had sent me a message that I'd missed. And he told me once before he like went and gave the speech to, I think, 500 people, 500 executives in New York. And he wanted my permission to like talk about the death meditation. I was like, use it, like get it as far out as you can. It's the most potent medicine I've ever seen. And so he gave that. That was really cool. And then I missed another message from him. And I actually got a call from my mom's friend. And she was like, did you know that you're in Oprah magazine? And I was like, what? She's like, you're in Oprah O's magazine. I was like, no, I'm not. You must like some other Jade. She's like, did you give a death meditation to Keith up in Esalen? I was like, what? Like, I had been praying too, because I just felt like, am I here? What am I here for? Like, am I doing something with my life? Like, what is my next step? And I just got confirmation the biggest way. And there's an entire article on the death meditation and Keith's experience of it. I have chills. And if you want to read that article, because it has the death meditation, like a lot of it in his experience is on my link in my bio on my Instagram. But it's just so cool to hear his rendition of it, because it's just, it was really cool. Cause he talks about how he like had a predisposed like idea, assumption of me, like, who's this chick? And then he's like, as soon as she opened her mouth and dropped, I like talked about a lot of my personal experiences to open the room. It just changed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's different when you do that. When you open it up, like I'm open, I'm wide open. My heart's in my hand. Everything's open, and then people will feel that they can relate. And I got some crazy, like real chills, like super crazy. Like when you were talking 2 times, and like
amazing. It's a really special practice. It's like my next evolution is just disseminating that information, because it's also a way that you can talk to people that are no longer here. So imagine there's a lot of cases where someone is abused by their father or their mother, and that person has passed and they never got to resolve that. That person across from you that you're gazing with in this death meditation has opportunities to step forward and talk to that person the way they wish they could have. And some people that, like, you know, their sister, their best friend, or their sister or their fiance has died. Like my most recent retreat in Sedona, 2 women had a fiance had passed, and they got to hold, because like each time after we talked to that person, I let them hug their partner, but you're hugging that partner like it's whoever we're gazing with. Yeah.
Like it's
so
the
you're
person.
holding the heart of your person you haven't seen and you miss and you love. And it just breaks down every bullshit barrier, and all the things that you convince yourself are important, just wipe the fuck out of the way. And I'm so lucky to have stumbled upon this or created it or whatever it is. And it's so awesome. I'm so honored. Grateful.
I love this so much. Like yesterday I was listening to Tony Robbins' podcast with Mike Tyson.
Whoa.
And they both did this. It was really good. Like,
sounds cool.
It was really good because Mike like has gone through some rough times, and I guess there's this thing in Brazil. It might be a different country, but Brazil, where I'm not sure what substance like they took, but it's like a ceremony where like it gets the It's just like you have a near-death experience. You don't actually like physically. Maybe it's. I don't think it was that. I think it was something else. But yeah, they had like near-death experiences, and they've like changed since, like pretty much dying mentally. Wow. So it's like, and then today, like hearing you about this, like I literally read the post about like writing your eulogy today, and that like I'm gonna remember that like the rest of my life, because I went through my own eulogy. I mean, I got an 8-year-old, got a wife, and all this shit. Like, what would happen if you die? Like everybody listening too, like what really would happen if you died today? Like,
Oh God.
how would those people respond? Like, how would you live your last day? One of my favorite quotes ever is live like it's your first day, live like it's your last day, live like it's your only day.
Whoa, I've never actually heard that quote. That's really powerful. I have super big chills. And also too, for people that are like going down the shame hole of like, well, I don't have a lover. Well, my family doesn't love me. That means that you also are forfeiting the space to meet those people that were waiting for you. So it's not just like, you're not just saying goodbye to, you know, people that you know, you're saying goodbye to the people that you didn't get the chance to know. And Anna Forrest talks about this too. She's like, in hers, it's, I've read it once, but I remember a part of it was like, what dreams die with you? What goals die with you?
Right?
What
Yeah.
like things you never started die with you? It's not just your, you know, your physical body and your family. It's like that thing that you always put off doing because you're like, I need to wait till this. I know I was in this on this road trip, and like I said, I like to peel the onion, and this, my friend Jordan was telling me this story about in college, he took this course that it was like a music course, and it had, the professor would do a podcast every single class and bring in like a semi-famous or like a, you know, kind of almost a has-been or someone that wasn't in the limelight still anymore, but big enough. And I think it was a band called Blind Melon, and they have a song called No Rain. But anyhow, he had that guy in there, and some guy stood up at one of the students afterwards and had a question. He was like, so I have 4 of these like gonna go to the top of the charts best-selling songs, hits, like gold, platinum, whatever it is. And he's like, but I'm going to hold on to them until I get famous so then I can share them. And that guy was like, yeah, you're not a real artist. And he's like, what? He's like, you're not a real artist. And he's like, what do you mean? No, I've got to save these until I get enough. So once I get the platform, then I'll give the goods. And he's like, no. An artist always gives and pushes out because they have to deliver constantly, like the babies that come to them, like the gold and the nuggets. And he's like, because they always know they're not hoarding anything, because they know that the pipeline is always going to, they trust that it's always going to flow. So those things that you're hoarding, that you're like, I've got to wait till I have this many followers or this many, this lover or this thing, like stop waiting. Do that now. Do that thing right now.
Yeah, because it's never the perfect timing.
Never.
It's never the perfect timing.
Bullshit, honestly. I mean, like people like to say, well, it's not the right time. When the fuck is the right time? When in their life are you like, well, I've got the money, I've got all these things. Usually that's when some other crisis strikes. You know why? Because it's always trying to push you to be in that space of grace. And it's not just going to come, you know, I don't know. I just get so fiery with all this because I want people to envision that, oh my God, because I always think about this, like when you're in 4th grade or kindergarten or whatever, you know, those posters they had on the wall that had fucking phenomenal motivational quotes, but they were so overused and beaten over your head that you're like, yeah, breath is important. You're like, fuck that. I don't care about breath. And it's like, really, like you can't live. Right. That's the one thing on earth that you cannot go more than a couple minutes without doing. So it's just like your death is, we think, well, live as if it's your last. Yeah, whatever. But it doesn't hit them. So it's just about finding the right language and the right way that it'll permeate your brain.
Well, it's like a story. Like people relate to stories.
Yes.
And if you have a story and you're creating like the day after your death, like we as humans be like, oh shit, I see the impact of this, compared to like, oh yeah, live like it's your only day, live like it's, you know, your first day. Yeah, that's a cool quote. Like I love that quote. But like reading your post about writing the eulogy, like I went there. I was like, holy shit, like what would happen the next day if I wasn't here? Yep. You know, I just saw it.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the death meditation that makes it so, I've had so many people come up and tell me this because I didn't really know what made it so potent, because I've actually never done it because I've always let it. And it's that, oh my gosh, it just flooded away from my mind. Damn, wait. It's okay. Yeah, it's like a goldfish out to sea. Hang on. Let me find it. What was
like you haven't done it. You haven't done the meditation, but I feel like you've done it. For like in terms of like,
you're right.
You live it.
That's
you know?
true. That's true. I do. Yeah. I do. I've actually cracked that code in that way. Damn.
Yeah. But you're saying when people come up to you after the experience, they come up to you.
I knew the wild card wouldn't reel me in.
That's Pedro. That's Pedro right there.
Nah.
We're going to pay you good today.
It's that what makes it potent is that if I tell you to envision your death, you're like, you might be sad, you might be like, whatever. But when I tell you to envision your death through the eyes of your 8-year-old child, Does that change
gosh.
things for you? Does that make it more potent?
Tissue.
Yes, it does.
I need a
So
fucking
I
tissue.
flipped it. That's why I found a way into your heart, and it's not through you. It's through the people that you love and the people that you could have loved. And another thing I want to say too, just random, is that I watched this thing on Tony Robbins once, and he was saying how when like he teaches through stories, because when he starts to talk about his experience when he was in fourth grade, you think about your experience when you were in fourth grade. So that's kind of, I remember him saying that, and that's why I kind of write in story form, because I realized if I just said, you need to envision your death, it's very important, like that doesn't hit you. But if I say, if your 8-year-old had to wake up tomorrow and you're like, had to hear his dad's gone, that hits you.
Gosh, yeah, it does.
Yeah, boom. Like boom.
It does.
That's
Yeah, I
big
heard
hit.
so I watch Ed Mylett as well, and he was saying something about like in terms of like eating better in his health, like just hearing like someone say, hey, you need to eat better for your health, like, but like he had a doctor that gave him a story. It's like, hey, do you want to watch your like daughter go down the aisle when she's married?
Oh,
And it was like, oh shit, that like changed
Oh,
him,
yeah.
you know, to eat better and be healthier.
Holy shit, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Whoa. Wow.
Yeah,
It's like,
I've thought of like how to rephrase things like that, and
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing that or listening to that podcast, Brian, with Ed Mylett, when he was talking about that, and I was like, oh shit, man, like it's not about like, hey, do you want to live to see 68? You know, it's like, hey, do you want to see your daughter have a grandkid? You're like, oh shit.
oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because that's like real emotions right there. It's like, boom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jade, you're on your way. You are definitely on your path. Like, there's no doubt. Like, you found something with all of the experiences that you've created, all of the things that you're doing, all the people that you are connecting with and lives that you are changing. Like, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for going within. Thank you for being you, because by being authentically you, you are changing the world.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
That power is not limited to me. It's you. It's us. It's all of us.
No,
So thank you for bringing
so
that
true.
forward.
You know, so true. You know, thanks for taking the time to connect with us. I know we went. I was like, yeah, you know, just like 45 minutes or an hour. It's like 2. You know, we could go like 3 hours.
I love podcasts.
You know?
There's so much
But-
magic
Gosh, we
that
could.
happens.
We'll have to get you on again.
Yeah, we'll have
Yes,
to make this
please.
happen. Like
sure.
as you're evolving, and like, you know, God only knows like what you're gonna create. Like the possibilities are super like endless, you know, and infinite, you know. But where do you see yourself? Like, okay, so the death meditation, obviously that's something that's definitely happening. Like you're gonna use that for like it's growing, it's going somewhere, you know. Like
Yeah.
next few years, like what are the steps? Like, Jade, if we get you on the show like 3 years from now, like or 5 years, like what are you doing and how are you changing the world then? Just forward
Man,
thinking. What do you want to do?
I'm dying to teach at music festivals. Like I'm dying to teach the death meditation at music festivals, because I went last year to Electric Forest, which is in
Okay.
Michigan.
Yeah. I'm Midwesterner
beautiful.
over here.
Oh, perfect. It was so life-changing and gorgeous. And I walked past the like 12 o'clock noon yoga, and I was like, this is whack as fuck. These people are, even if they're on, especially if they're on drugs, like they're extra open, they're extra
Yeah.
excited. This is the perfect grounds to just open everyone's hearts, and they're already open. So I want someone in there that's like just as fierce as RL Grime, just as fierce as Bass Nectar. So I want to be that person.
Ooh,
That's
Bass
like
Nectar.
Boom.
huge goal of mine, is just to like, I'm actually working with this one of my favorite, his name is Graves, but I'm working on a meditation with him that is going to be like my voice, and then into like some dirty, nasty dubstep trap, like
Oh,
Whoa.
super sick. So there's
Nobody's doing that.
Not
You know, this
yet.
isn't the ambient track in the background.
this is meditation AF. So
All right.
yes.
right,
Just fucking
man.
meditation.
yeah, just fucking
Send me that shirt.
meditating. So that's one of the things I want the death meditation to blow up. It is a sacred practice, so I also hesitate about that. But I'm like, no, this needs to be out there. It's pure, potent medicine. It's not a drug. It's like the most powerful thing I've ever watched revolutionize someone's existence. Even if it's laden with addiction, like it can pierce anyone's heart. So I want that to kind of blow up. I'm doing a lot of really exciting retreats with my friend and best friend, Ali Michelle, and just things with my friends. I've had the last like
Cool.
a couple months, I've just attracted these magical people in my life, and it's like family I never had, and we're just gonna keep spreading that space and creating that authentic place to grow.
thank you for sharing that wonderful message with us about
you for-
growth and evolution and all the things that you're doing. And the death meditation at festivals, like how cool is that? I mean, they're doing yoga at these festivals, like, and they're doing things like I'm looking at my vision board in my bedroom right now. My vision board is to teach yoga at an Above and Beyond event. Like that's on my vision board,
Oh my God. Did you hear their meditation they just came out with?
With Elena Brower. Yeah. I went to the event. They have these Daybreaker events. They did the one in New York on top of the rooftop. So in Miami, we had one, but it wasn't with Pavo. He wasn't here. But one day, like, I'm going to teach yoga with Pavo. I don't know if Elena Brower is going to just let me sub it for her or what, but I'm going to, it's going to happen.
You're not going to sub for her. You're going to be for yourself.
Yeah, like whatever. But yeah. Like it's happening.
On the sub list.
Yeah, like how do you get on the sub list?
Petro's 5-year plan wants to be on the sub list.
I know.
Come on,
wait,
bro.
what? You have to get in. That's
oh my gosh, so funny. Yeah, no doubt. Like that. So it's just funny that we said that. Like that's that's amazing that you want to do that at festivals, and that's it's great, and you're going to change lives there, and anywhere that you step foot into, or just anyone that can listen, because I know that the power of the internet. Anything is possible to connect people. So
yeah, if anyone has
amazing.
anything, please help me, because those are really hard to get into, and I would just do wonders with even the smallest thing. Yep, never know.
You new listener out there. So we'll make sure we link all of your stuff in the show notes back on the site. Please sure to check it out. Make sure you check out at Jade Alectra because she's amazing and changing the world. And we can't thank you enough for taking the time, Jade. I really appreciate it. You are amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your beards, your laughter, your jokes, your AF. Everything has been wonderful. You guys are doing such amazing work, and thank you for all that you are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Namaste, Jade. Oh, go ahead.
You both have homework. You have homework.
Oh, we got homework. All right, give it to us. Give it to us.
To eye gaze with your wives, your lovers, for 5 minutes.
Okay,
I'm doing it. I'm going to do it tonight.
DMs. Okay, I'm ready. I can't wait.
We'll hit you up.
She's waiting in the other room. Like, are you wrapping this shit up? Or what? Like,
you're gonna come in with
done at 7.
Fire. You're like, baby, sit down. We got
sit down.
Well, last episode, I guess.
Yeah. Love you guys.
Love you guys too. Have a good night.
All right,
love
sounds
you guys.
good.
Have a great night.
Ciao.
Namaste.
Namaste.
How fucking cool is Jade Alectra? Thank you all so much for tuning in. I mean, if you're listening to me, you stayed for the whole episode. Give yourself a pat on the back. Also, go to theyogishow.com. That's where you're going to see all the show notes. We got all your stuff right there, all the links. We take good care of you. And DJ Taz Rashid is hooking us up with this music on the Yogi Show podcast. So check it out. Check out the show notes. And I need you to go tell your friends. I need you to go tell your yoga studio to subscribe, comment, listen, share the Yogi Show podcast. We appreciate you. And remember, be grateful. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. We love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.